going on, everybody? Today's Friday. I hope you guys are having a great Friday. Long story short, the worst jungle deaths ever. Shout out to Simple Pain. He's been feeding our channel with very good content. I actually really fuck with these videos a lot. Piranha Buffet.
The Piranha Buffet. On December 3rd, 2011, in the small
Oh my god, piranhas. That's prime piranha. I think that's when like Piranhas dropped the movie. Like, that's prime piranhas.
Bolivian town of Rosario del Llata, an 18-year-old man stumbled along the muddy banks of a river after a night of heavy drinking. The river was swollen from recent rains, its current stronger than usual, and its dark waters concealed countless schools of fish. Ignoring the warnings of his companions, he leapt into the water. At first, it seemed like a reckless prank, but within seconds, splashes turned into thrashing. The young man began screaming as the water boiled around him. Villagers rushed to the river's edge and recognized the unmistakable rage of piranhas. These fish, with razor-sharp teeth
Is
and
that
powerful...
kind of piranha? Listen, there's different types of piranhas. I don't know the name for this fish, this type of piranha, but if this is like the red belly one, then that nigga's been dead.
Jaws rarely kill people, but when conditions are right, low water levels, blood in the water, or a vulnerable victim, they can attack in terrifying numbers. The group tried desperately to pull him back to shore, but the damage was already catastrophic. His body was covered in deep wounds, strips of flesh torn away by dozens of bites. Blood poured into the river, drawing even more fish to the surface.
Dion, Jennifer, tell me everything.
Yo, you know what's so crazy about piranhas? Is that when they bite, they turn around, chew, go back, bite. I'm trying to say they let everyone get a bite. Imagine if those niggas just... Like, it doesn't make a difference because you're getting tabbed by like 50 of them at a time. You know what I'm trying to say? But like, so like, say I jump into the water, right? Splash. Once I get bit once, ooh, I'm out of here. I'm gone. The fact that he got surrounded so, like, it's like Swarm from Black Ops 2. The fact that he got surrounded by like swarms and canines, like hypothetically, in that matter of a second and killed him where he couldn't even jump out the water is crazy. Hold on.
Beyond saving. He bled to death only minutes later. Police investigators noted that alcohol likely played a role, dulling his instincts and delaying his reactions.
Yeah.
Some
See.
locals even
Yeah. That makes sense. Like what I just said, like, you know, the fact that you couldn't react, I totally forgot that he was drunk.
suggested it might have been intentional, but the official report listed it as a fatal accident. International headlines quickly seized on the story, playing into the long-standing fear of the Amazon's most infamous fish. Biologists were quick to point out that such attacks are not common, and that most piranhas feed opportunistically on insects, other fish, or carrion. Yet, in this case, the combination of intoxication, poor judgment, and bad timing created a nightmare scenario. Crocodile lunch break. On December 7th, 2010, South African explorer...
Yo, where does he be coming up with these names? Like, do you make these names, or is this like the news title name back then?
Hendry Coetzee was leading 2 American kayakers down the Lukuga...
Bro, what is up with people kayaking in crocodile rivers? Do you know how much videos I see of, like, not to like attack you guys, like white people kayaking in rivers, and then a crocodile comes up and be like, no, buddy, and they'll poke him with the stick. No, get out of here, buddy. Bro, what? That's a dinosaur.
River in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Bro,
Coetzee, known in the
I won't
adventure
even
community
trust
as
a boat.
Kadoma, had already
I have
etched
to
his
be
name
in a
into
ship.
history by paddling the full length of the Nile and charting wild stretches of water few outsiders had ever seen. For him, rivers were highways into untouched parts of Africa, and this was another bold expedition. The trio had already survived rapids and long days of rain. That morning, the water seemed calm, the surface smooth except for the occasional ripple. The forest...
You're telling me that when the waves are moving like this with your boat in crocodile water, that's cool to you guys?
pressed in tight on both banks, a wall of reeds and elephant grass concealing whatever watched from the shadows.
Duh.
They knew the river held crocodiles, but the animals usually kept their distance. Small ones sometimes basked on the banks or drifted half-submerged, but the giants were rarely seen. As the kayaks moved silently downstream, it happened without warning. From below the surface, a Nile crocodile surged upward. It slammed into Coetzee's boat, knocking it off balance, and seized him in its massive jaws. His companions, Ben Stooksbury and Chris Korbelik, watched helplessly as their leader was wrenched from his kayak. The predator dragged him under with terrifying speed, and in seconds, the river closed over them both. The 2 Americans sat frozen, scanning the water, waiting for him to resurface, but the river stayed silent. Coetzee was gone. His friends knew the crocodile, weighing over half a ton and longer than a small car, had made survival impossible. They paddled to shore in shock. Later,
We know that crocodile. You don't know that dinosaur. You've seen him
recounting the
before,
attack
yes.
to authorities and the world. The news spread quickly. Headlines described how one of the most experienced rivermen alive had been taken in the most sudden and brutal way. His body was never recovered. Hungry Komodo
I have a question for normal people watching this video. What is an experienced riverman? Like, I understand, like, I'm not stupid. I understand what they mean. Like, he's experienced. Like, he's been in the water. You know what I'm trying to say? He's been here, like, you know? But why are we shocked that a dinosaur took him out? Like, you know crocodiles are dinosaurs, right?
incident. On June 4th,
died by a Komodo
2007,
dragon?
in the
Nah, I have
village
to
of
see this,
Komodo
'cause
on
those niggas aren't
Indonesia's
even
remote
fast.
island chain,
He had to have
children
snuck up on
played
him.
along dusty paths.
No,
that
not kids. No.
village of Komodo on Indonesia's remote island chain, children played along dusty paths that cut through thorny brush and dry savanna. It was the height of the dry season. Streams had turned into trickles, and watering holes shrank into mud. Deer and goats, the usual prey of Komodo dragons, were harder to find. The giant lizards, sometimes stretching over 7 feet, began wandering closer to villages in search of food. 8-year-old Mansur left the company of his friends and stepped behind a bush to relieve himself. He was only a few steps from the main path when the silence broke. A Komodo dragon, concealed in the undergrowth, lunged with terrifying speed. Its serrated teeth sank into the boy, and its massive claws raked across his body. The attack was sudden and brutal. Villagers nearby heard the screams and rushed toward the sound. They found Mansur pinned by the reptile, the dragon thrashing and tearing at him. Men hurled stones, struck with sticks, and shouted in desperation. After a frantic struggle, they managed to drive the predator back into the bush.
Was this group of villagers all women? Like, not to be rude or like sexist, I'm not trying to, like, only women is throwing stuff, and men in village. My nigga, I'm not talking about local men in houses and where we live. These are villagers, people that hunt. You know the word hunt? Not go to Walmart, hunt. You tell me that they threw rocks and branches? I'm picturing that these niggas ran up with sticks and knives and, you know, bows and whatever the case might be, and killed that motherfucker, you know, and ran him off. There's no way they threw stuff at him.
But the damage was
A Komodo dragon, besides them being poisonous, they're weak as shit. Like, they're defenseless, they're fast though. But like, you could easily chop that shit with a machete. Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
done. The boy's wounds were catastrophic. Blood poured freely from deep lacerations, and his small frame grew pale. He was carried quickly toward the harbor,
Wait, aren't they
where a
poisonous?
boat would take him to
Or
the
venomous?
nearest medical post. But the journey was long and the injuries too severe. Before they could reach help, Mansur succumbed to his wounds. His death sent shockwaves
peace.
through the island community. The tragedy marked the first confirmed fatal Komodo dragon attack on a human in more than 30 years. For locals, the threat was always known, but rarely did it claim a life so close to home. Park officials immediately tightened restrictions, warning tourists
Bro, so y'all knew about the Komodo dragon wandering, but because it never caught a body? Alright.
and villagers alike never to wander alone or stray from designated paths. Biologists explained that hunger and drought may have driven the lizard to target a human.
No!
The Armor Incident. On September 10th,
The what? The
2020,
Armor?
in the remote forests of Rondonia, Brazil, 56-year-old Rieli Franciscado was on patrol with a small team of police officers and local scouts. For over 3 decades, Franciscado had worked with Brazil's Indigenous Affairs Agency, FUNAI. He was known as one of the country's most experienced experts on isolated tribes, dedicating his life to protecting groups
Yo, why is it always the most experienced people? 3 decades? That's older than us. How did he die? The armor incident? What the hell's that?
that chose to remain uncontacted from outside threats like loggers, miners, and disease. That morning, reports had come in of sightings near the edge of the Uru Uwauwau Reserve. Franciscado's mission was delicate, to observe from a distance and ensure that no hostile outsiders threatened the group. His team moved carefully through the dense vegetation, stopping often to listen to the jungle around them. Then, without warning, the silence broke. A figure hidden in the undergrowth released an arrow. It flew across the clearing and struck Franciscado in the chest, piercing just above his heart.
Then she started.
Wait. I don't get it. Aren't they there to protect them? Why did he kill him?
Witnesses saw him stagger back, clutching at the wound, and cry out for help. He managed only a few steps before collapsing to the ground. The police rushed to his side, but the injury was devastating. Within minutes, Franciscado was dead. The assailants vanished back into the forest. For the uncontacted group, the men in uniform may have looked like intruders. For Franciscato, the fatal arrow came from the very people he had spent his career trying to protect. News of his death spread quickly. Reuters, The Guardian, and major Brazilian outlets reported on the tragedy. Colleagues described him as calm, dedicated, and deeply respected, a man who believed the best way to defend uncontacted peoples was by keeping them unseen and undisturbed. Tribes that remain in...
I'm so, like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I need to know how. I need to know, like, okay, you said 30 years. That means these motherfuckers know you. So for them to see you and shoot you, it had to have been a new nigga in the group. Like, you know, one of the new YNs. Over 30 years they knew you and they killed you. I don't know. You did say that they don't like to be disturbed, right? So shit, I don't know. Maybe you came too early and they were all sleeping and you disturbed them and they got mad.
Isolation are often violently displaced when outsiders move into their land. Franciscato's work had been to shield them from those dangers. Ironically, it was his presence on the edge of their territory that cost him his life. Cayman Happy Meal. On July 23, 2010, in Rondônia, a remote state in western Brazil.
Cayman Happy Meal. Where are you getting these titles from?
Children played along the banks of a wide river.
Oh my god, don't tell me that's why you call it a Happy Meal.
It was late afternoon, the air heavy with humidity, and the surface of the water looked calm. Just below that surface, however, lurked one of the Amazon's most dangerous predators, the black caiman, Melanosuchus niger.
Oh my god, they got a nigger caiman? Melanosuchus nigger?
The black caiman, Melanosuchus niger. An 11-year-old child stepped too close to the water's edge. In an instant, the surface erupted. A massive caiman, likely over 13 feet long, surged forward with explosive speed. Its jaws clamped down, teeth puncturing deep into flesh, and with one powerful twist, it dragged the child into the river. The attack was silent, except for the screams that followed. Villagers raced toward the shoreline, shouting and waving sticks, but the predator was already gone. The black caiman is the largest member of the alligator family in South America, capable of overpowering even adults. Against a child, there was no chance. By the time others reached the spot, the water was still again, the only sign of the struggle a few ripples spreading across the surface. When the body was recovered, doctors and researchers documented the case carefully. It became one of the few fatal black caiman attacks published in medical literature, with details of the bite marks and the sheer crushing force of the animal's jaws. Scientists noted how rare such incidents are, but also how swift and final they become once they happen. Unlike a snake bite or a jaguar attack, there is almost no window for rescue. For the community, those details mattered little. The death of the child sent waves of grief through the village. Parents pulled their children away from the water, and local leaders cleared...
I don't get it. Villagers, people born in these type of environments have the most common street sense in the world. So why are they now pulling kids away from the banks? I swear you guys know that they're in there. Like, am I tweaking? Like, I don't know, man.
Vegetation
that
along
nobody
dangerous
knew that
bends
those were
to
in there?
improve visibility. Night fishing trips were curtailed, and new rules were passed on where children could swim. The Python Incident. On July 2nd, 2024, in South Sulawesi, Indonesia, 36-year-old Siriati left her village early in the morning. She planned to walk a familiar path to the local market, where she would buy medicine for one of her children. The track ran along the edge of dense forest, a place villagers knew to be home to giant reticulated pythons.
Oh yeah, I forgot it's a python. I was gonna say she got attacked by a tiger or a jaguar.
These snakes can grow more than 26 feet long and are powerful enough to crush and swallow a person whole. When Siriati did not return, her husband set out to look for her. Along the path, he found her sandals and a discarded scarf. Just meters away lay a massive python, motionless, its belly grotesquely distended. The scene was clear to anyone who had lived in these forests. The snake had swallowed her. Villagers gathered quickly. With machetes, they killed the reptile and cut it open. Inside was Siriati's body, still intact, curled within the coils of the giant snake. She had been attacked, constricted, and consumed in the space of minutes. For the husband and the 5 children she left behind, the discovery was almost unbearable. The case drew national and international attention.
Rest in peace.
Images of the dissection spread across newspapers and social media. Authorities confirmed that this was not an isolated incident. Only weeks earlier, another woman named Farida had been swallowed whole in the same province. Experts explained that encounters may be increasing as human activity pushes deeper into forested areas and traditional prey species decline. The Snake Man Incident. On March 24, 2004, in Prachinburi, Thailand, crowds gathered to watch a performance by Boonrong Boachan. Known nationwide as the Snake Man, he had built a career on daring stunts with venomous reptiles. Years earlier, he had earned a...
Wait, why do I feel like I know this incident? Is this the one where he gets bit trying to perform in
Guinness
India?
World Record by spending 7 days in a glass enclosure with dozens of deadly snakes. To his fans, he seemed untouchable, a man who could control danger with his bare hands. That afternoon, Boachan stood in front of the crowd with a cobra. The snake was restless, hood flaring, tongue flicking as it searched the air. Spectators leaned forward, waiting for the moment when handler and reptile would clash. For Boachan, it was routine. He had done this hundreds of times before. Then the strike came. The cobra lunged, its fangs piercing his flesh. Gasps echoed through the audience, but the Snake Man waved it off. Some thought he had suffered one of his epileptic seizures, a condition he was known to have. Valuable minutes slipped away before the seriousness of the bite was clear. Bystanders rushed him to a local hospital. Doctors...
You're telling me that the man got bit by a snake. You see the bite mark. And because he's usually passes out and has epilepsy, whatever the fuck they said, you think, oh, nah, even though he just got bit, that's just one of his seizures. Just give him a couple minutes. Okay, it's been like 10 minutes. He's not done his normal routine seizures. Oh, shit, maybe it was a snake bite. Oh, no, let's get him to the hospital.
Tried desperately to counteract the venom, but the neurotoxins spread quickly. The poison paralyzed his breathing, shutting down his body from the inside. Within hours...
Sonnet makes claims simple.
Nah, not right now, bro. Nigga just got bit by a snake. You talking about Sonic Insurance? Like, bro, fuck out of here.
The man who had spent his life in the company of
I want to know
snakes
how he
was
did
dead. Nude.
I want to know how he did the 7-day cage thingy. That sounds crazy. How do you sleep in a cage? Like, cause bro, I'm not sleeping standing up. I need to lay down and roll over. So the snakes need to give me space. So I just want to know how he did that. That's more impressive than how he died.
Venom. Survival is unlikely. Boonrong Boachan was remembered as both fearless and reckless, a man who lived by pushing the limits of what humans and snakes could share on a stage. The Jaguar Incident. On September 1st, 2014, in the Rupununi Savannah on the edge of Guyana's rainforest, villagers set out to collect food and firewood. The forest here is thick, with tangled roots and dense canopy, and it is also prime hunting ground for the jaguar, South America's most powerful predator. Usually, jaguars keep to themselves, preying on deer, capybara, and
usually jaguars
but
are
when one
pretty
decides
chill.
to stalk a person, the result is almost always fatal. That day, a middle-aged man walked alone into the bush. When he did not return,
I thought he was with his villagers. I thought the villagers went out. I was gonna say, how the hell did a jaguar run upon villagers?
search party followed his trail. They found signs of a struggle, broken branches, blood on the leaves, and claw marks dug deep into the soil. Hours later, his body was discovered, mauled and partially eaten. The tracks around him left no doubt. He had been taken by a jaguar. Wildlife officials confirmed the attack, noting that the animal had likely grown old or injured and turned to easier prey. In the villages of southern Guyana, such encounters are feared, but not unheard of. Jaguars are silent ambushers.
I think, at the end of the day, a jaguar's a jaguar. You're not about to tell the jaguar who he can hunt. You know, but it is a possibility that the jaguar was old and injured, because they do that. Like, when they're old and injured, they go for easier prey. But you tell me that an old 55-year-old man walking in the jungle, the jaguar's not going to go try thing? Hey, come on.
Capable of leaping from close range and crushing a skull with a single bite. In dense jungle, a victim has little chance to react before the predator is on top of them. The death caused panic in the community. Parents kept children indoors, and hunters moved in larger groups. Authorities eventually tracked the jaguar and killed it after it charged another group of men. Even then, fear remained.
Okay, no, that nigga, that's King Von Jaguar. He attacked a group of men?
The Hornet Massacre. On October 4th, 2013, in a remote part of Anini district in Arunachal Pradesh, India, villagers entered the forest to gather food and firewood. The jungle there is alive with insects, many harmless, but some deadly. That morning, the group disturbed...
India has black widows? Say a word. Or are you just lying?
Nest of Asian giant hornets. Among the largest and most... That morning, the jungle there is alive with insects, many harmless, but some deadly. That morning, the group disturbed a nest of Asian giant hornets, among the largest and most aggressive wasps in the world. The swarm erupted with terrifying speed. Dozens of hornets descended on the villagers, their stingers delivering repeated injections of potent venom. Victims screamed and ran, but the insects pursued relentlessly through the trees. Their stings caused searing pain, swelling, and in many cases, deadly anaphylactic shock. By the time rescuers arrived, the scene was chaotic. Bodies lay on the ground, some already lifeless, others writhing in agony. More than 20 people were killed in the attack, with dozens more rushed to hospitals miles away. Survivors described the insects as flying daggers that seemed impossible to escape. Medical teams struggled to treat the victims. Many had received dozens of stings, their organs shutting down under the flood of venom. Local newspapers reported it as one of the worst hornet attacks in the region's history.
Nigga, in life. That's a hornet massacre. Oh, I see. Now I see. See, I didn't even pre that. I was gonna say that's a hornet massacre. The hornet massacre. Okay, so I see where you get your name. So you be making these names talking about chicken nugget, calling the kids chicken nugget. You fucking nigga.
Devastating an entire community in a single morning. In the aftermath, officials warned villagers to stay away from hornet nesting sites and launched campaigns to locate and destroy nests near settlements. The massacre was a reminder that in the jungle, death does not always come with claws or teeth. Sometimes it comes buzzing from above, in swarms too fast to fight.
Nah, that's crazy though. Nah, they need to patch hornets. What the fuck you mean they killed 20 niggas?
In Brazil. On September 3rd, 1961, in the dense jungles of Pará, Brazil, 26-year-old Richard Mason was part of a British expedition attempting to chart the Iriri River, a tributary of the Xingu. Alongside fellow explorers John Hemming and Kit Lambert, Mason had hacked trails through weeks of heat, rain, and swarms of insects. The team was young, ambitious, and determined to map one of the last unknown stretches of the Amazon. That afternoon, Mason walked alone along a supply trail to collect provisions.
Yo, everybody that died so far in this video was walking alone. Everybody, not everybody. And we talking about the people in the jungles or the forests, except the hornets.
He carried nothing but basic gear, unaware that unseen eyes were following him from
My
the
nigga,
trees.
unseen eyes are looking at you 24/7 in the jungle.
In this part of the forest lived a group then uncontacted by outsiders, a people who had never invited strangers into their land.
Yo, how many uncontacted groups are there? I know there's one that killed that one guy that kept going for no reason. And then two, the one that just died in the video. And now this one.
Them, Mason was not an explorer. He was an intruder. As he made his way back toward camp, the attack began. Arrows hissed from the shadows, striking his body. Then men rushed forward, beating him with heavy wooden clubs. By the time his companions realized something was wrong and ran to find him, Mason was lying dead on the ground, surrounded by the weapons that had ended his life. The killers melted back into the forest. For days, the team struggled with shock as they carried Mason's body out of the jungle. He was later buried in Rio de Janeiro, far from the riverbanks he had hoped to chart. Only years later did researchers confirm that the attackers were members of the Panará, also known as the Creen Acaror, an uncontacted tribe fiercely protective of their land. The expedition ended in tragedy. Hemming, who survived, later wrote extensively about the Amazon and indigenous...
Yo, is this video done? Hold on. All right, final thoughts. This tribe group right here, dickheads. Like, before you see one hopeless 26-year-old skinny guy in the jungle, you outnumber him, before you put the bow to his head and say, yo, buddy, just leave, all right? Or leave, or you trying to say scare him away, you kill him? Like, come on, why shouldn't I see you guys?